Hare Krishna, Radhe Radhe, Dandavat Pranam. Welcome to Shri Shri Radha Manobihari Mandir, Gopinath Bhavan, Shri Vrindavan Dham. Srila Gurudev ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Today is the auspicious appearance anniversary of Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Goswami Maharaj. Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Srila Bhanu Guru Bharata ki jai. Patit Pavan Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai. Prem Purushottam Shachinandan Gaur Hari ki jai. Radha Vinodihari Ju ki jai. Radharaman Ju ki jai. Giriraj Maharaj ki jai. Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai. Shri Shayan Ekadashi ki jai. Gaur Bhakta Vrind ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. So we will begin with Mangalacharan, page 1 of this book, Shri Gauriya Giti Guccha, Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam.
Krishna Sambandha
दहिने ब्रह्मणे नमः माधुर्योज्ज्वलप्रेमाढ्य श्रीरूपानुगभक्तिदा श्रीगौरकरुणाशक्ति विग्रहाय नमोऽस्तुते नमस्ते गौरवाणी श्रीमूर्तये निरकारिणे रूपानुगम्यनुभावो सिद्धान्तभक्तहारिणे नमो गौरकिशोराय साक्षान्नैरन्यमूर्तये विप्रलम्बरसम्बोधे पदम्बुजायते नमः नमो भक्तिविनोदाय सच्चिदानन्दनामिने गौरशक्तिस्वरूपाय रूपानुगम्यरायते गौराविर्भावभूमे स्वं निर्देष्टाय सजनप्रियं वैष्णवः सर्वभौमश्री जगन्नाथाय ते नमः वंशाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो महामदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्तो राधाकान्तो नमोऽस्तुते तप्तकञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये जयतं सुरतोपङ्गो मम मन्दं मतिर्गति मत्सर्वस्वपदं भोजो राधामदनमोहनो दिव्यवृन्दारण्यकल्पद्रुमादो श्रीमद्रत्नागारसिंहासनस्थो श्री श्रीराधा श्रीरगोविन्ददेवो पृष्ठानिधि सेव्यमानो स्मरामि श्रीमन्द्रसरसारम्भे वंशिवत्ततस्थितः कर्षन्मेनुस्मरैर्गोपीनाथश्रियस्तु नः वृन्दायै तुलसीदेव्यै प्रियायै केशवस्य च कृष्णा भक्तिप्रदे देवी सत्यवत्यै नमो नमः पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकं जय श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृन्द चेतोदर्पणमार्जनं भवमहादाभक्तिनिर्वापनं श्रेयकैरवचन्द्रिकावितरणं विद्यावधूजीवनम् आनन्दं बुद्धिवर्धनं प्रतिपदं
Which one have you chosen?
Gurudev Kripa Bindu Diya.
Page 32 starts Gurudev Kripa Bindu Kripa Bindu Kripa Bindu Diya.
एक बार प्रणाम करो। Page 44. A Baro Purnam Guru. EIBARA. Page 44. 44. A Baro Purnam Guru. Vaisnava Vishaya Vasana Rupa Chitera Vikar, page 48. Visaya, Vasana Rupa, 48. And if anyone does not have the songbook, Jiva Pavani Prabhu mercifully, very kindly posts it in the comments in the thread. So just scroll down to the bottom and you should see the latest post. Jiva Pavani Prabhu would have posted the bhajan there and you can sing along with it. And the meaning. And sometimes enhanced commentaries as well. Thank you, Prabhu. Vishayo vasana rupa chittero Shudha Bhakata Charanarenu Bhajana Anukul.
Page 216.
What page is it?
Page 216, Shuddha Bhakata, S-U-D-D-H-A, Shuddha Bhakata. Shuddha Bhakata, Charanare,
Shudha Bhakata Charanarenu Bhajana Prema Jai Jai Nityananda, Rohini Kumar, page 64. Jai Jai Nityananda by Vrindavan Das Thakur.
Prabhu Nityananda
Goranga tumi more doyana chari ho.
Page 78, and it starts with Gauranga Tumi. Gauranga-Tumi. Gauranga Tumi.
78.
78.
Chaya Hari ki jai. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhari. I don't know what page it is in the songbook.
None of us do.
None of us do. Good luck. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivara Jaya Girivara Jaya Gopi Jana Jaya Yashoda Nandana Raja Jana Yashoda Nandana Raja Jaya Kunja
Hare
Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktāya Tadbhaktāya Namo Namah Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Nama Om Vishnupadaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayana Namine Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swamine Namine Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimad Bhaktivedanta Bharati Goswami iti namine Pancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim Yat kripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Ninatarinam. First of all, I offer my Dandava Pranam thousands of times in the dust of the lotus feet of our beloved Gurudev Nitya Lila Pravishna Om Vishnupad Astottara Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaja. And I offer the same thousands of Dandava Pranam in the dust of the lotus feet of Nitya Lila Pravishna Om Vishnupad Astottara Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And especially on this day, the day of the appearance anniversary of Srila Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj, I also offer thousands of Dandava Pranam in the dust of his lotus feet, and also in the dust of the lotus feet of all of our Rupanuga Acharyas, our Rupanuga Gaudiya Guru Varga, and to all Vaishnavas past, present, and future, including all of those who are present with us today. I'm offering you my Dandava Pranam. So today is a very important holy day. According to our calendar here in Vrindavan, we are observing Sri Shayan Ekadashi. Today is also the day of the return Ratha Yatra. So the chariot of the heart of the gopis moves from Nilachal, from Jagannath Temple, Purushottam Kshetra to Sundarachal, Vrindavan, bringing Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra to Vrindavan. And then there's a return Ratha Yatra. And today is also the anniversary of the appearance of Srila Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj. And so today I want to speak on these three subjects, but I'll speak on them separately. I'll touch on Ekadashi, I'll touch on Ratha Yatra, and then I will come into the some of the glories and teachings of Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Goswami Maharaj. So Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Goswami Maharaj, he quite often would mention that if any holy day presents itself, any day of the Lord or any day of any Vaishnava, if we fail to acknowledge that day, if we fail to give honor to that day and those personalities who are represented in that day, then we will also become complicit in aparad, because on that day they are coming to give us an opportunity to remember them. And so by not acknowledging, then we are guilty of aparad. But by acknowledging, Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj would always quote one shlok, Guru Vaishnava Bhagavan Tiner Smaran Hoy Sarva Vidya Vinashan. That if we remember Guru, Vaishnava, Bhagavan, their names, forms, qualities, and pastimes, of course. Tiner Smaran, to remember these three, Sarva Vigna Vinashan, means all kinds of ignorance, all kinds of anarthas, all kinds of inebrities and inauspiciousness is destroyed or removed from our hearts. And then the next verse after that says, and what comes in its place? Everything that is auspicious. All things that are favorable for bhakti. So it is very essential and important. And Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj himself, by his own example, showed that on any day like Ekadashi, or any day of any Vaishnava, or any day of Bhagavan, he would always make sure to glorify them. And he said, even if we don't know anything about that personality, except for their name, then we should just at least state their name and kijai. So, first I'll speak something on Ekadashi. Today we sang that bhajan Shuddha Bhakata Charanarenu Bhajana Anukul. Bhakata Seva Paramasiddhi Prema Latikar Mool. Madhavatiti Bhakti Janani Jatani Palana Kori. Krishna Vasati Vasati Bori Parama Adare Bori. So it is said that on days like Janmashtami and Ekadashi, Krishna resides in those days. It is not different from Krishna. So it is called Madhava Titi, or the day or the time period of Madhava, Krishna. Madhava Titi Bhakti Janani. Bhakti Janani means it gives birth, it nourishes our bhakti. Any bhakti, any activity that we do in bhakti on this day, on the day of Ekadashi, is greatly enhanced. Whatever you do for bhakti on Ekadashi day, or any day like Janmashtami, is multiplied 1,000 times. So for those who want to, yes. So those who want to progress rapidly on the path of bhakti, then we should take advantage of these days, pray to them, honor them. Srila Gurudev said, just as we would honor Krishna himself, Jatane Palana Kori, very carefully, with great care and attention. But what is even more auspicious for us than the day of Krishna? The day of Krishna's devotees.
Jai.
Krishna says, I don't know anything other than my devotees, and they don't know anything but me. I don't reside in Vaikuntha nor in the hearts of the yogis, but I reside where my devotees are always remembering and glorifying my names, forms, qualities, and pastimes. Today we chanted this bhajan, Evaro Kuruna Karo, Vaishnava Goshaya. There it says, Tomar Hriday Sada Govinda Vishram, Govinda Kohina, Mama Vaishnava Paran. So, Tomar Hriday, O Vaishnava Thakur, Krishna is always residing in your heart. We may even come to Vrindavan. Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Goswami Maharaj would tell us. But if we're just coming to Vrindavan and not under the umbrella of Satsanga, under the guidance of the Vaishnavas, those pure devotees, then we will only see the covering or the mayak net over Vrindavan. We won't see Vrindavan proper. But if we come under the guidance of Vaishnavas and hear from them, like our Srila Prabhupada said, we should not try to see with our eyes, but we should see through our ears. It means what we are hearing from the pure Vaishnava as they are witnessing, as they are understanding Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, and as they are witnessing the pastimes of Shri Radha and Krishna and all the Brajavasis in Vrindavan. From them, if we hear, then we will have proper understanding. Jaha Bhagavata Para Vaishnavadasthane. To understand truth, to understand Bhagavatam, We must understand the feet of the Vaishnava. So Srila Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj, he would frequently tell us this thing, that to come under the guidance of a Vaishnava, then we will be able to hear. Wherever the Vaishnava is, that place is considered non-different from Vrindavan. The mountains in that place where the Vaishnava is, those are compared to Govardhan. The rivers which are in that place are compared to Yamuna. The lakes are compared to Radha Kund and Shyama Kund. Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes this in one of his bhajans, that wherever the pure devotee is, because Tomara Hriday Sada Govinda Vishnam, within the heart of the pure devotee, Krishna is residing there. The word Vishram is used, but we all know that Krishna is not just sleeping. Krishna is always playing, always performing wonderful pastimes with his devotees in Vrindavan. He's always performing sweet pastimes. So what is happening in the heart of the devotee? Like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said about Swarup Damodar Goswami, that he is really a true Brajbasi because he always carries Vrindavan within his heart. Moramana Vrindavan. One's mind, one's heart should always be Vrindavan. So in this way, to come into the association of any pure Vaishnava, they are carrying Krishna within their heart. What does it mean to Vishram? Rest. Rest means to be completely relaxed. That is the place where Krishna can be carefree, where he can relax, and where he can perform his sweet pastimes without all of the disturbances of any other inebriety coming. God, give me this, God, give me that. Help me, give me a beautiful wife, give me wealth, give me health, give me this, give me a house, all sorts of things. He doesn't want to be disturbed by all of that. He wants love and affection. And he's attracted by that love and affection. So coming close to a Vaishnava, coming to their feet, hearing from them, submitting to them, serving them, then what will manifest from them? As we are serving them, they also like to reciprocate. And they only have Krishna in their hearts. And Krishna is not alone. Krishna is there in Vrindavan with all of his transcendental associates. So they will give their treasure. We give our treasure, which is money. We give our treasure, which is our time, our seva. And they give their treasure, which is Krishna, and love and service to Krishna. So Tumar Hriday Sada Govinda Shram, Govinda Kohena Mama Vaishnava Paran. Krishna himself says, my devotee, they are my life and soul. So on the days of Vaishnavas, this is even more powerful. Because Krishna himself, he might not give us prema. He might not give us bhakti. But the bhakta, they have bhakti. Bhakta sanjataya bhakta. Bhakti comes from the bhakta, from the devotee. I think I've told before, when Lord Shiva says, Aham Vedmi, I know. Shuko Veti, Shukadev knows. Vyaso Veti na Veti va. Vyas may or may not know Srimad Bhagavatam. Because Vyas is a direct manifestation of Krishna. Krishna Dvaipayan Veda Vyas. But Lord Shiva is Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu, the greatest of all Vaishnavas. Shukadev Goswami is the manifestation of the parrot of Srimati Radhika, the bhakta, the devotee. So the devotee understands devotion. And Krishna is tasting that devotion. When he comes in the form of Mahaprabhu, then he's coming in the form of bhakta. And in that form, Srila Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj says, because he is tasting this Krishna prema, the bhavs of Srimati Radhika, then he is able to distribute that Krishna prema. Because he's experiencing what it is like to love Krishna, not what it's like to just enjoy the love of the devotees. So coming close to the heart of Vaishnavas, then we can receive Krishna. Krishna prapti hoy jaha hoite. They will make Krishna appear in our heart. Divya jnana hriday prakashita. They will manifest transcendental knowledge in our heart. What is that? Knowledge of our relationship with Krishna. How to love and how to serve Krishna. And what kind of beautiful reciprocation will be there in that service. So very quickly, I just want to mention what Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj mentioned about the return Rath Yatra. Because we see that all devotees are doing this big Rath Yatra festival, pulling the chariots to Gundicha Mandir. And there, They are placing Krishna in their hearts, means Vrindavan, Baladev and Subhadra. But why isn't the return Rath Yatra so prominent? Because that represents, after Lakshmi Devi comes, Her Panchami, we spoke about this before, she comes and beats everyone and then demands they return her husband. Then he's going back to Dwarka. So the Brajabasis cannot tolerate this. It's unbearable. We've heard when Akrur went to Vrindavan and he was taking Krishna and Balaram on his chariot. At that time, the gopis felt no shame to come, even in front of Akrur. They were weeping, crying and begging Krishna, don't leave. Even in front of Balaram, in front of Akrur. And they were lying down in front of the chariot that don't leave. They were actually, it was there was like a complete block. They were lying down in front of those wheels. And if you leave, then we will also die. With this mood, they did not want Krishna to leave. So this idea of Krishna leaving Vrindavan and going back to the temple of Jagannath Puri, this is very painful for the Brajavasis, those who are followers of Srila Rupa Goswami and the followers of Mahaprabhu who have Brajabhav. So generally we don't see an excited mood of bringing Krishna back to Dwarka. This is not favorable to the development of Braj Bhajan. And yet we have heard that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also had accompanied this chariot. So Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj, he's, for me, such an amazing expert reconciler. He reconciles all points with such beauty, such refinement, in such a way that we can accommodate all different kinds of conceptions. So we understand that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna, tasting the bhav, the moods of the love and affection that Srimati Radhika has for Krishna. And yet he's also accompanying the chariot. So there are two different aspects. There is the tattva and there's the rasa. And bhaktas, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was not only playing the role of Radhika, but he was also teaching as a sadhaka to other sadhakas. And so many different levels of sadhakas are there that we should honor and respect the ras, the pastimes of Krishna. Dwarkadish Krishna is also Krishna, but performing a particular lila. So it depends on how we look at him. He is not the same as Vrindavan Krishna. This is something that people misunderstand. Dwarkadish Krishna is not the same as Braja Krishna. Not directly. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita directly states this, Krishnonyo Vasudevo, that he is not the same as Vrindavan Krishna. But, just like Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Narasimha and all avatars are manifestations of Krishna, Keshava, Dritta, Meena Sharira, Kurma Sharira, Narahari Rupa, etc. So Dwarkadish is also a manifestation of the original Rajendranandan Shyamasundar Krishna for performing a specific pastime. For performing a specific pastime, which is Dwarka pastimes. And so it depends on the mood or the bhav of the bhakta, how they are viewing it. If they're looking at it as something separate, then it won't be favorable. But if they're seeing that Krishna is performing this pastime, then it may be that they may take part, but it won't be the same happy feeling, the same happy mood. They will be going to Vrindavan with delight, bringing Krishna to Vrindavan, but they will not be happy bringing Krishna back to Dwarka. Never, never, and never. No Brajbasi would like to do this. So, we're still speaking about Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Goswami Maharaj. Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj is a very amazing, transcendental personality. And I would actually like if Sudevi could speak something first, because my introduction to him, my initial introduction to him was through her. And the introduction that we had to him was very powerful and very moving. So I would like to hear it today for my own benefit and also for all of our benefit. So Sudevi, will you come and speak about Srila Maharaj a little bit about how we met him?
You stay.
It's okay. Come on, just right here.
Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. The subject of Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj is one that is very dear and close to my heart. The first time that I ever saw Srila Maharaj was when we went on Navadvip Parikrama with our Gurudev, I think in the middle 2000s, I don't remember exactly when.
2005.
Like 2005. And we had crossed over the Ganga and went to Mayapur. And our Gurudev met us at one temple there. And when I walked in this huge, massive hall, I saw the most astonishing thing. There was my Gurudev sitting down next to another Vaisnava, and there were at least 60 to 70 sannyasis surrounding them. But Gurudev and one other Vaisnava were sitting together speaking, and they were glowing. It was like there was a vibration, and they were
resonant.
All I can say is that it was like powerful, like this vibration coming off of these two individuals. Even though so many were there, we were in a hall with over 20,000 persons. So we sat down and we listened to them speak. And then I somehow or other found Kishori Mohan, Prabhu, in this big, massive hall of people, and I said, I don't know who that personality is. I don't know who he is, but he glows. He glows exactly like Gurudev. Whatever you have in your pocket, you have to go and give it to him, and let's at least touch his feet and offer pranam to him. So we did that. We went through all of these people and we went up there and we offered our respects to him and gave him everything we had and touched his feet. And it was Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj. But because we had Gurudev in our lives and he is our life and soul, we just continued on the parikrama and went on. And I didn't think about Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj after that. I was just completely immersed in my Gurudev. And then came 2010 when our Gurudev performed his final pastimes in our vision in this world, his physical manifestation. And at that time we had the opportunity to serve him for a few months. And afterwards, when he had left in Puri, and then they took him and did Samadhi in Navadvip, Kishori Mohan Prabhu and I came back to Vrindavan. I didn't want to see Srila Gurudev actually put into Samadhi. I saw him in Jagannath Puri, sitting on his bed. We did arti, we did singing to him, we did all of our worship, and we sang Govinda Damodara Madhaveti as they drove him to Navadvip. And it seemed as if he was carrying on, and we would see him at the next festival. So we came back to Vrindavan 2 days after Srila Gurudev left our manifest vision. And after that, one girl, 2 days or a couple of days later, one god sister came to me and she said, I brought you something. I myself filmed the whole Samadhi ceremony and the procession, everything that took place, and I brought it for you. And I thought, I didn't want to see this. I wonder why it came to me. And I thought maybe Gurudev wanted me to see this. So I plugged it in my computer and I began to watch the whole ceremony of the Samadhi of my Gurudev. And in the middle of watching that, I started to scream. To just wail and weep. And I found myself on the ground just screaming and crying and wailing for my Gurudev. But my Gurudev didn't come into my vision. When I was on the floor, I was really screaming and praying and crying, Gurudev, Gurudev, just screaming. And at that moment, this beautiful face came into my mind's eye, like into my vision. But it wasn't Gurudev. And I knew I had seen this person before. And I remembered, I saw him in Mayapur with Gurudev. Who is he? Who was he? I don't remember. I didn't even know his name. And I didn't have a picture of him. So I started running to different devotees and asking them, do you remember this personality? Do you remember? And they were just looking at me like, no, I don't. Finally, I went to one young devotee boy and I said, do you remember when we went to Mayapur and there was this devotee sitting next to Gurudev? He said, yes, I remember. And he said, 1 minute. And then he went and he got a picture. And he said, is this him? And I looked and I said, it's him. That's him. Who is he? And he said, oh, that's Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Goswami Maharaj. And something hit me very deeply. And that is the power of Guru Tattva. The reality of Guru Tattva. We hear that when we are searching for shelter and when we are searching for Sri Guru, that we don't go looking by our eyes because they will cheat us. We go by our senses and think, what do we want to hear? What do we want to see? What do we want to eat? Are they feeding me nicely? Are they giving me sweetness? Are they massaging my ego? So many times we run to Guru because of our senses and we think this will satisfy me. But Shastra tells, Krishna even tells, how do we call Guru into our lives? With sincerity and with tears. Today, one devotee posted part of a lecture of Srila Govinda Maharaj called Guru Seva is Everything. And in that lecture there, Srila Govinda Maharaj says that we have to have some, like calling out some, what is that mood? Utkanta, some eagerness and some desperation. He said, if your head is on fire, will you sit back? Will you sit still? He said, no, you will cry out, give me water, give me water. I'm burning and burning. I'm burning in the frying pan of this material world. Help me, help me. He said, like this, we have to call for Guru. He said, we cannot with our own eyes see who is Guru. So with the most sincerity that we have in our hearts and with our tears, we cry to Krishna, please send me your own man. Send me your own person. I don't recognize them. I don't know them, but you know them. That is Krishna's business, Baba. That's what he said. That is Krishna's business. Our business is to cry with sincerity. And Krishna's business is to respond. And I remember that when I was crying for my personal form of my Gurudev. Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj with blue eyes. How charming he was, how sweet, how soft, how loving, how affectionate, how intimate. But at that time, it was as if Guru Tattva revealed itself. Same wine, but new bottle. How our Gurudev used to say about Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. He would say, I'm not giving anything new. It is the same thing. It is just a new container. It looks different, but what is coming out, what is coming through is the same. So then Kishori Mohan Prabhu and I went on a quest to try to find Srila Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj. And I only need to say is that when we arrived finally at his lotus feet, we saw the most astonishing thing. All of the devotees that were serving our Gurudev personally, so many of them, we saw like Madhav Priya Prabhu and Shripad Sadanti Maharaj, Sundar Gopal Prabhu, Sanjay Prabhu. We saw then even like our childhood heroes, Shamarani Didi, Vrindavan Vilasini Didi, Vaijanti Mala Didi, Manimati Didi, Shashikala Didi. So many of these stalwarts that we saw through our lives, disciples of Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj, and our Guru Varg. We saw them all sitting at the feet of Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj. When we arrived there, we saw, oh, we have come to the right place. Same wine, new bottle. And I wanted to share that experience because I know right now, so many of us are asking, where do we go? Where do we go to receive that kind of shelter? That shelter that is non-different from our Srila Prabhupada, from our Gurudev. And Guru Tattva tells that the only way that we can absolutely and truly call is from the core of our heart. And Paramatma, Guru in the heart, will hear that sincere calling and will step outside and manifest as Sri Guru. And he, because of the sincerity in our hearts, will make himself recognizable to us. We will be able to see him by his own causeless mercy and by our sincerity. So Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj, he began where our Gurudev left off with us, and I'll let Kishori Mohan Prabhu tell. But I just wanted to say that being in his association brought me so much closer to my Gurudev. I remember once Vrindavan Vilasini Didi explaining something to me. She said she once went to our Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, and she said, I don't know what to do. When I am praying, when I'm doing my mantras and when I'm chanting, do I remember you? Or do I remember my Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, my Diksha Gurudev? Who do I remember, my Shiksha Guru or my Diksha Guru? And she said that Gurudev said, oh, you should remember both. And then he began to explain to her. I actually wish she was here because she could tell it so much more beautifully. But she said that in this world, the more you open your heart and you give your love out, the more that becomes less and less. It becomes diminished. And he said, but your heart will have to begin to expand. When we love transcendentally, our heart will have to begin to expand. He said, not only me, not only Srila Prabhupada. He said, but our whole Guru Varg will have to be able to have a seat in your heart. And they are not alone. They are always with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all of his parikar. And Navadvip Dham, Mayapur Dham, all that transcendental realm is also contained there. So your heart will have to expand. And when you enter into Navadvip and you enter the Ganga into the mood of Navadvip Dham, when you come up, you will rise up in Vrindavan and Jamuna. So your heart will have to expand more so that Vrindavan can fit there. And then Krishna will have to have a place in your heart. And who is Krishna? He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He has 9 lakh cows. But Srimati Radhika is the superior personality of Godhead. And she has 11 lakh cows. Her father is more superior. And they will all have to fit. Shutta Koti Gopis were dancing with Krishna, and they will also have to fit in your heart. All the Brajabasis and all of that transcendental realm, that transcendental love and affection will have to fit inside of your heart. So your heart will have to expand and expand. So Diksha and Shiksha Guru are one. They are one. And Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Goswami Maharaj, he taught us this by his own example. He never came and removed our Gurudev from our heart and took his place. He only took what our Gurudev gave us. All of the knowledge, all of the beautiful, transcendental, loving affection he gave us through his Harikatha. Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj would show us like a jewel, look what your Gurudev gave. And then he would turn it toward different lights to show us all the different facets of his teaching, and would expand on the teachings of our Gurudev so that we could understand our Gurudev more and more and more. And then we would see how deeply connected they are and how in tattva they are one. So on this day, I just want to say thank you so much for giving me the chance to remember Srila Maharaj. I remember the day that he left this world physically, because he is present always. There are so many extraordinary glories of Maharaj, his Vaisnava Seva being the utmost. But the one thing I want to end with before I give Kishori Mohan Prabhu the rest of the time to speak is that on that morning when I woke up and I found out that he had left, I thought, the world is still spinning. It is still existing. That means that there is hope. That type of personality, carrying that same mood, that same Brajabhav, that same thing that Sri Rupa Goswami established in this world, that our Guru Varg has come to give, a personality of that caliber is still moving and walking in this world. Otherwise, our Gurudev said this world would cease to exist. There would be no reason for it. If Krishna wasn't able to give his mercy, specifically Krishna in the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in this time. So we have hope. And I'm not saying that I'm a sincere caller of Guru. But at that time when I was crying, it was the most honest crying I had ever done in my life. Just wailing and crying for my Gurudev. And my Gurudev answered me by bringing me to the lotus feet of Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Goswami Maharaj. And I believe that if we continually, and maybe even congregationally, even if it's in different countries, in different rooms and alone, but many hearts are calling out and praying and screaming for Krishna to give his mercy. That same divine mercy that we found in Srila Prabhupada, in our Guru Varg, in our Gurudev, in Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj, that kind of personality will again manifest in our vision. He will make himself known to us if we are sincere. So I wanted to share this to leave us with hope that kind of personality appeared. And the world is still existing, which means they're still present. All we have to do is become sincere. And that's on us, not on them. Mercy is here and extending its hand to us. Mercy ropes, as Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj would say, mercy ropes are hanging down. That means Guru is lending his hand down, and all we have to do is hold on with sincerity. And that is on us. And if we only hold with one hand and we're holding on to all of our material things and possessions and attachments with another hand, then we can become cheated, and that is on us. Those mercy ropes of Krishna are real, and they are present, and it is really on us to call that real thing into our lives, not them. They're waiting for our call. Vanchakalpatra. Thank you.
So I was very fortunate to just be near Sudevi as she was going through these experiences, and luckily to be there as she discovered. She's like, "Do you remember that person we saw?" And I was like, "Yes." Somehow she found me in a crowd of 20,000 people, and she just said, "We have to go." So she was bringing me to go see this Vaisnava. I didn't have that inclination, but her inclination was very powerful. She's the one who wept for Gurudev, and he came in her vision. She was like, "What is this?" And then she went searching all over Gopinath Bhavan. "Do you remember? Do you remember?" And she found out about him. And by that we were able to eventually make our way to meet him. And so we went to Faridabad. We were staying at the house of Ajit Modi and Ragalekha, Didi. And they brought us to see Srila Bhaktivedanta Maharaj. When we went to see him, first it was out in the park just across from the temple. The devotees there were doing bhajans, and so we joined them to wait for him. And the devotees told us, Srila Bhaktivedanta Maharaj, he's not like Gurudev. He's a little bit different. Gurudev was very personable. He would communicate with all of us. He would laugh and joke and very sweet. Srila Bharati Maharaj is very stoic. He just comes out exactly when he's going to speak. He speaks on the subject very tattvik, very like shastric. And then when he's done, he gets up and he leaves. And we're like, okay, that's fine. Not everyone has to be exactly the same. Sometimes people think that each guru has to be exactly the same. I think that that would be a kind of monism. It would kind of be boring. Imagine if every single gopi was exactly the same and they didn't have an individual personality. The reason Radhika expanded herself unlimitedly with so many different bhavs is because it makes Krishna more happy and more excited. So all of these gurus, they're also individuals with certain personalities, certain look, and certain kinds of presentations. So we went there, we sat down, and then I was engaged in singing the bhajan Evaro Kuruna Koro. That's why I sang it today also, for Vaishnavas. And as I was singing this bhajan, Srila Bhaktivedanta Maharaj came out. And so I continued singing the bhajan to the end. And he looked at me, and he said, "What is your name?" And I thought, he's not supposed to be talking to me. He's just supposed to come out, speak, and go back. He's like, "What's your name?" And I said, "Kishori Mohan Das." He said, "Kishori Mohan." And I was like, and he said, "What is the meaning of Kishori Mohan?" And I said, "Kishori means Srimati Radhika, and Mohan means the..." And he said, "Kishori. This means Srimati Radharani, and Mohan means Krishna, the attractor, the bewilderer of the mind of Srimati Radhika." And he said, "You sang this bhajan, Evara Kuruna Koro?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Stand up and speak on it." And I was like, I thought he didn't have people speak. That's what they told us. So I was a little bit, it's all of my seniors. Like Sudevi said, these were all the people we have looked up to. I've known Vrindavan Vilasini Didi since I was born. Like, I was born in the same apartment that literally became the Lady Sankirtan Ashram. And she was in charge of that ashram. So we knew her since we were little babies. We knew Shamarani Didi since we were little babies. And these are the devotees we were looking up to. All of them were sitting at his feet. And he said, "Stand up and speak." And then he said, "Whatever you don't speak, I will take the remnants and then I will finish it." So I stood up and I started speaking on this bhajan, Evaro Kurunakaro Vaishnava Goswami, to the best of my ability. Srila Gurudev Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj had engaged us in traveling the world and preaching, but it is a different thing to stand up in front of Gurudev and speak than it is to go and speak in front of your friends. It's just different to stand up and speak in front of Gurudev. But he had just started asking me to stand up and speak. And then Srila Bhaktivedanta Maharaj, he told me to stand up and speak. So as I was speaking, then Prabhu, after a few minutes, he said, okay, enough. And then Srila Bhaktivedanta Maharaj said, are there any questions? And I was thinking, wait a second, he was going to finish speaking on this bhajan. But anyhow, he said, are there any questions? And in true form of Kishori Mohan Das, yes, I had a question. Immediately my hand went up. Boom. I had a similar question for Gurudev. My first question for Srila Gurudev Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, he said, do you have any questions? And I said, yes. Why are they telling us that we shouldn't come and see you? That we shouldn't hear from you? That was my first question to Gurudev. And he gave such a beautiful answer. But we are speaking about Srila Bhaktivedanta Maharaj today. So my first question, my hand went up. Because just after the departure of Gurudev, there was some confusion. As always, whenever a great personality departs from this world, there's always confusion amongst the disciples, those who might be Kanishta or even coming up to Madhyam. There's so many confusions. So there were a couple offshoot groups of Srila Gurudev Sangha already that were preaching and teaching that if you go outside of our Sangha, outside of Gurudev Sangha to any other Mahabhagavat, quote unquote, right from the main stage, if you go outside of our Sangha to any other Mahabhagavat, you will be betraying Gurudev and you will be an aparadhi to Gurudev.
And you will lose.
And you will lose all of his mercy. When people would say this, because I had listened to hundreds of classes of Gurudev speaking exactly the opposite of that, it would make my blood boil. And I was shaking, sitting there like, I have to fight against this. This is my nature, to defend the conceptions of my Gurudev. But anyhow, there was a couple of groups that were saying this kind of thing, actually 3 different groups. If you go outside of our Sangha to any other Mahabhagavat Vaisnava, you are making aparad to Gurudev, you are betraying him, and you will lose his mercy and your connection with Gurudev. In fact, somebody even said, oh, you're going to hear from him, everything is spoiled. Like that. So, and they said, if someone is going to be your Shiksha Guru, then they have to have been physically close to your Diksha Guru, so that they could understand and see all of his activities, his behavior, and his preaching, so that they can nourish you in your relationship to your Diksha Guru. Otherwise, they cannot be your Shiksha Guru. This is what they were saying. So when he said, any questions? I raised my hand, and he said, yes. And I said, some are saying, some are telling, that someone can only be your Shiksha Guru if they were physically close to your Diksha Guru. Otherwise, they cannot be your Shiksha Guru. I don't accept this, but can you please shed some light on this and reconcile this? And his immediate response was, we have never heard such things. Mind you, he was a stalwart Gaudiya Vaishnava, practicing diligently for his entire life. And at that time, he was over 85 years old. Seeing generation after generation after generation of devotees coming into the line of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. He said, we have never heard such things. And then he told a beautiful prayer verse from the Puranas. Giror Kadapi, I can't remember the prayer. He told the first line, I think. And in that prayer, in that verse, it is said, and he spoke it, that although there is so much physical distance between the sun and the lotus flower, still their relationship is so intimate that upon the presence of the sun, the lotus flower blooms. And although there is so much physical distance between the moon and the night lotus, Upon the presence of the moon, the night lotus blooms. Their relationship is so intimate. And the third one was the peacock and the monsoon rain cloud. Although there's so much physical distance between them, when the monsoon rain cloud forms and begins to thunder, the relationship between the peacock and that monsoon rain cloud are so intimate that the peacock begins to dance. He said so, physical proximity is not the barometer. It is a matter of the mood in the heart, the same principles, the same essence that is being shared. And this, what he spoke, was exactly and completely in line with everything that I had understood from my Gurudev, from Shastra. And he reconciled it so beautifully. He said that it is a matter of the mood in the heart. And at that moment I was seeing, yes, what did our Srila Gurudev do? He opened his arms, and so many persons whose gurus had physically departed from this world, disciples of Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, disciples of Srila Bhaktivedanta Vaman Maharaj, disciples of Srila Govinda Maharaj, disciples of Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj, disciples of Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj, disciples of Bhakti Sri Rup Siddhanti Maharaj, disciples of Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj. So many from so many places came, and he gave them affection, he gave them nourishment, and he gave them shelter. So Gurudev showed by his own example that yes, it's okay. Gurudev wasn't constantly speaking about Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj, or wasn't constantly speaking about Srila Govinda Maharaj. He wasn't constantly speaking about all of their gurus, but he was giving the same essence. And by this, like Sudevi explained with this jewel example, Gurudev was nourishing their spiritual lives and making them feel a deeper understanding of their own Gurudev, where their relationship was feeling deeper. In fact, one time I heard Gurudev say, and this is important in this connection, there was a time when Gurudev was being quite heavy, harsh with Damodar Maharaj, to the point where Damodar Maharaj was really freaking out. But Gurudev was being heavy with him. And then after everyone left the Badger festival, and Gurudev stayed on for 2 days, and only a core group of devotees stayed on. And Gurudev was sitting there with all of us, and then out of the blue he said, "Do you know why I am so heavy with Damodar Maharaj?" And we were all sitting there listening. He said, "Because I am manifesting his Guru, Govinda Maharaj, to him." This is Guru. Guru is manifesting, is bringing us a deeper relationship with our Diksha Guru, and this is the function of Shiksha. The function of Shiksha Guru is to increase our relationship with our Diksha Guru, but they do not need to speak about that person necessarily. They need to give that same essence. Just like a water tap. You can have many water taps or many electric ports in your apartment or in your house. But the same water is flowing through all of them. The same electricity is flowing through all of them. In the same way, if there is a transparent medium, means a clean pipe or a clean electric outlet, then you will be able to receive that pure flow. So Sri Guru is doing this thing. So Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj explained in such a succinct and beautiful way, completely confirming everything that I had heard and realized and understood about my Gurudev and what is Diksha and Shiksha Gurus. And then, miraculously, through the rest of the conversation, it was like a darshan. Devotees were asking questions, and as they were asking questions, he was answering their questions in such a way that the remainder of the bhajan was being deeply answered. And I thought, how amazing is that? Through the medium of that question, he is utilizing this bhajan and bringing up the facts, filling out the rest, and then the next question. It was quite amazing. And I thought, wow, he's spending time, he's communicating with people, and then after everything we did a little kirtan, and then he told one devotee, "Oh, give him my garland." So he sent his garland to me. And for me, this was a little bit Let's just say we went back to our place that evening. I hung the garland in the room, and that night I had a dream. And I don't normally tell my dreams, but when the dream with any Vaishnava is completely in line with Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, then I tell the dream. So in my dream, he came to me. And he looked and he said these words, if you want pure bhakti, I thought, those are my Gurudev's words, pure bhakti. If you want pure bhakti, you have to give everything, 100%. And then he made a motion like this, we have given everything. And I understood what he was saying. And I told Sudevi, and she was like making a joke, oh, maybe we shouldn't go back. Just, because he was saying, complete surrender. If you really want pure bhakti, then you have to give everything. And then I saw something the next day. It was so beautiful. We went the next day to see him. But where was it? He was going to some little place where he was invited to go. It was a wedding party. Like a pre-engagement party or something. And we were stuck in traffic for hours to get there. And he was also stuck in traffic. And his health was not so good. And it was like one of these pandals built on the road. You know how they do in India? And there was like 20 people there. The group of the devotees there doing kirtan and a few guests. And he came there and he spoke for about half an hour. He stayed there for half an hour. He spoke, he gave some instructions, he gave some harikatha, and then he left. And I was thinking, my God, this personality, he is a very, very prominent, important personality of a great and powerful Sangha from Sri Chaitanya Gauriya Math, disciple of Srila Bhaktivedanta Madhav Goswami Maharaj, who is a disciple of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada said about Srila Bhaktivedanta Madhav Goswami Maharaj that he serves with volcanic energy. What an amazing glorification. Volcanic energy, non-stop. And in fact, Srila Bhaktivedanta Maharaj gave a title to Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj. Seva Ratna. The jewel of Seva.
Should I bring pictures of what he's saying?
Yes. Or, I don't know, maybe a different one. Here.
No, this is beautiful.
Okay.
Let's see. It can be seen. This is him.
It's going to show up in a second. We have a little delay here.
Okay.
He was also given a certification for being completely without laziness and always alert. Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj. His nature of seva. Never lazy, always alert, and the jewel of seva. He himself translated from Bengali into English Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat with the commentary of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. Not into English, Bengali into Hindi. Did I say English? Into Hindi. Also Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita of Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami with the commentary of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur and the commentary of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. He translated that one also from Bengali into Hindi.
Can you tell something about when he would hand prasadana?
We'll get to that.
Okay.
So Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj, the point I was making is he was such a stalwart Vaishnava, respected by thousands and thousands and thousands. Very, very senior, a very strong practitioner, completely without any mark, any negative, any spot on his character or anything. He was so strong and so careful. And he himself made himself so little to go out to this little wedding party, this little...
No, everyone's saying you've gone, all that happened, oh no.
Should I just put it on?
Yeah.
It says it's on again.
Yeah, it's on. Jiva producer. Okay, now it's on.
Did you guys see the Marmite jar again? Sorry about that. Can't hide Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. There we go. Okay.
Are we back?
Wait, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada is hidden. There we go.
Are we back?
We're back.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, I don't know what you missed, but I just told something maybe I wasn't supposed to tell. Anyhow, the a temple president and temple commanders were loud enough within my vicinity, were kind of joking, not joking, but in a derogatory way, speaking about persons who were donating to the temple, that we should milk them for all they have. And I couldn't digest it, because we would go to these people's homes, we would make friends with them, we would make friends with their children and do kirtan and like this. And so I couldn't understand or reconcile why there were, why someone would have this mood of taking money from someone. But then Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj told a beautiful Harikatha. He was speaking about when Krishna and the cowherd boys were going through the forest in Vrindavan. And at that time, the cowherd boys started feeling very hungry. In fact, our Gurudev would say hunger asur was attacking their stomach, the demon of hunger. They were so hungry. So Krishna told them that they should go and ask the Yajnik Brahmins. This is in Bhatro, just down the road, kind of halfway to Mathura. So they went to ask the Brahmins, and the Brahmins were doing their yajnas and chanting their mantras and putting ghee in the fire, and they're just like, get out of here, stop disturbing. Maharaja, leave us alone and go play. Don't disturb. So they went back to Krishna and said the Brahmins would not give us anything. And then Krishna told them, you should go back, but don't go to the Brahmins, go to their wives, the Yajnapatnis, the wives of the Brahmins. And at that time, they said, okay, they went back to the wives of the Brahmins, and they said, Krishna told them to say that Krishna and Balaram are hungry. So at that time, they went back to them, and they told the wives of the Brahmins that Krishna and Balaram are hungry, they would like something to eat, and we're hungry too. So the wives of the Brahmins immediately prepared to serve Krishna. Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj explained, why is it that within their heart immediately this desire arose? Because they had overheard the glories of Krishna from the gopis. They had overheard. And by this, Krishna Seva Vasana manifested in their heart a desire to serve Krishna by overhearing this Harikatha. How beautiful, how sweet, how wonderful Krishna is. They wanted to serve him. So immediately they decided, yes, we will serve him. And they went to tell their husbands, we want to go serve Krishna. We want to give him something to eat. And their husbands said, we forbid you to go. And they said, we're going anyway. Because they had such a greed to see Krishna and to serve Krishna. And their husbands told them, if you leave, you are not welcome back in this household. We will reject you forever. And the Yajnik Brahmins, their wives, thought, whatever. At least we will have the opportunity to go and see Krishna and serve Krishna. Never mind. And this example is very appropriate. Guru na sasyat, svajano na sasyat, pita na sasyat, janani na sasyan, daivam na sasyan, napatishta sasyan. Napatis tasasyan. Means if even our husbands are not favorable to our service to Krishna, then they are fit to be rejected. So immediately they went and collected so many food items to serve Krishna and Balaram and the cowherd boys. And they went to the forest to meet with Krishna. And there they served Krishna, Balaram, and the cowherd boys to their heart's content. And then they were just there, waiting. Because they couldn't go back to their husbands. They had nowhere to go. And Krishna said, okay, you can go home now. They said, we're sorry, our husbands rejected us. We cannot go home. They told us that they will reject us forever if we come. And Krishna said, trust me, everything will be okay. You can go home now. So they went back home. When they went back home, their husbands were weeping and crying. What is the purpose of our yajnas? What is the purpose of all of our chanting of mantras and everything? What is the purpose of our high status of being Brahmins? We have completely missed the point. We have failed to serve Krishna. But you are so fortunate that you rejected everything for the service of Krishna. Their husbands began to glorify them, practically worship them, and serve them. And their husbands were weeping, feeling so lowly about themselves. So Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj made an interesting point at this juncture. He said 2 hours before, their husband said, we will reject you forever, you are not welcome home. You cannot come back. What happened to change the hearts of their husbands? Where they're completely the opposite. He said because they used their husbands' hard-earned energy in the forms of foodstuff. At that time, people didn't give Brahmins money, they gave them donations. of food supplies, fruits and vegetables and all kinds of necessities for their yajna. And this is how the Brahmins would subsist. So because they utilized the hard-earned energy of their husbands in the service of Krishna, then their husbands' hearts had a transformation in this connection. Srila Gurudev told one devotee, lady, that sometimes a little chori is okay. Because, in fact, I've seen it a few times. Husbands are like, where did you get all this money to give a donation to Gurudev? They'll give Gurudev $500. It's like, how much have you embezzled?
So my sister's husband used to say.
Yeah, Sudevi's sister's husband. He was like, where did you get all that money? At that time she wasn't working, but she was still giving Gurudev a big donation. You've been embezzling money all this time? And it was only like, the $2 that would be in it, that he would put on the countertop every single day. And she would just pocket. And then she would utilize it in the service of Gurudev. And he would use it in the service of Krishna. And we saw that after some time, he became inspired. Although at that time previously, he wasn't really a devotee, but he became inspired. And one day he took shelter of Srila Gurudev, received initiation, Harinam, Japamala, and instruction from Gurudev. And a home in Vrindavan. How about that?
And the last thing, because it's late, when you're done with this point, please tell the prasadam and how.
So Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Goswami Maharaj, he explained that because they had used their husband's income in the service of Krishna, this created a change of heart in their husbands. Huh?
Then we gave everything.
Yeah, so right after that, Sudevi's like, whatever you have on you, let's give it to him. Because the Vaishnava does not use anything for their own pleasure. They use everything 100% exclusively in the service of Krishna. And so we also wanted to attain that kind of sukriti, that maybe our hearts would change and we would also want to dedicate our lives in the service of Krishna. So this katha he told, but in such a way that it had planted itself so deeply in my heart. It was one of the first times I ever heard him speak, and it was so amazing. So Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj, also, one of the main contributions that I feel that he gave to us, he was really showing us, because Gurudev gave us so much about the goal, and also how to attain the goal, but so much about establishing our goal. And then Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj, he came and really was going in detail, the process, how to make our way toward that particular goal. And so he was explaining so much, especially about Vaishnava Seva. You see how he was always glorifying Vaishnavas, how he was always serving Vaishnavas. All of the time, every single day, it didn't matter, he had to give prasadam to the devotees. And you would see when he would put it in your hand, he would look in your eyes, and he would take that prasadam, and heavily you would feel like, boom, in your hand, and he would be looking at you, in your eyes. There was some intention there. Even when he was ill, and he was lying in his bed, under his mosquito net, he would put his arm outside of the mosquito net. And Madhapriya Prabhu or Siddhanti Maharaj or Sanjay or any of his sevaks, they would put the prasadam in his hand, and the devotees would come one by one, and he would put the prasadam in their hand. How dedicated was he to serving the Vaishnavas? One time Shamrani Didi asked him, what is it that you are doing when you're doing that? You're looking in their eyes, and with such heavy intention, you're heavily placing this in their hand. Why are you doing that? And he said, I'm trying to give them bhakti. I'm trying to give them bhakti. This is the nature of the Vaishnava.
Even when he was so sick.
Yes, I told that.
Yeah.
In every situation, but he's trying to give something. He's trying to awaken something in our heart. Why? Atimatta charitraya svashatanam chapalini jiva dukke sadattaya srinama premadayane. Seeing our pitiful suffering condition, the Vaishnava's hearts bleed in compassion for us. And they need to give mercy. They cannot help themselves. And what do they have to give? What is the treasure of their heart? The treasure of their heart is love and affection for Krishna. the only thing that makes any jiva happy and satisfied. Savai pungsang pado dharmo yato bhakti radhokshaje ahaituki apratihata yayatma suprasiddhati. The only thing that can make us happy is if we love and serve Krishna. And where does that love, how is that awakened? It is awakened and nourished by sadhu sangha. So by that intention, trying to give us something. And so humble as well. How humble was Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj. He didn't want anything for himself. He didn't like any notoriety coming to him.
He would even offer his pranam and thank all of the listeners, because he would say, I'm too old for any other seva.
So when he was speaking, he said, I am too old, I am too unwell to perform any other seva. My body cannot function like it used to. He used to do so much day and night. My body cannot function like it used to. I can't do anything else except for speak what I've heard from my Guru Varga, Guru Sadhu and Shastra. This is the only seva that I can do now. And he was looking at us and really thanking us from the core of his heart. If you did not come to listen, then what would become of me? You're engaging me in remembering Krishna. So he would thank us profusely. Thank you for giving me the opportunity for doing seva. This is the only seva I can do. And I'm not sitting up in this chair because I feel that I'm superior to any of you. My body is not even able to sit on the floor. But I see that you are all Vaishnavas who are engaging me in remembering Krishna. So you are all like my Guru Jan. He was feeling like that. Like even Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, he would always say, Dasosmi, I am your servant. So Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj, he exemplified the mood of Vaishnava Seva. And he exemplified the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how to perfectly follow. And he was definitely no lightweight. When anyone would come to him for initiation, he would really question them. Are you sure that you will follow? You are making a vow. Do you understand the consequences for breaking your vow? He was invited to a wedding party, for a wedding, after a wedding party in, Ghaziabad, north of Delhi. We all went and we were there for the kirtan. And then Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj came in. And sannyasis, especially those kinds of sannyasis, spotless charactered sannyasis, and wedding parties don't exactly mix. Unless you want to be a strong Vaishnava couple. So this couple, fortunately, they are Vaishnavas, very nice Vaishnavas. And their parents are also Vaishnavas and disciples of our Srila Gurudev. And they are as well. So he came there and he sat down and he was speaking very heavily and very strictly about making vows and the result of breaking them. And it was so intense. Do you remember some of the things he said?
I remember he said even when he was receiving his Diksha mantras, one of the things was that he wouldn't sleep in the daytime. And he said, because he wanted to know what vows am I making. And one of them was that. He said, I cannot make that vow. And they were like, what? And he said, what if I'm sick? What if something happens or I'm on a train and I fall asleep? You know, I can't make this vow. So he was showing that he was very clear with every vow that he made that he would follow it for the rest of his life. And he said, so you are making a vow now in front of the fire, in front of the demigods, the devas, in front of Guru and Vaishnavas. So this is for life. You are making these vows. It is not a light thing. Diksha, Harinam, these are not light things.
Even
Marriage.
And he said, I believe he said, or Gurudev said, also, if you can so easily give up this thing, then you can also easily give up your Gurudev, your vows to your Guru and the process of bhakti. So Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj, he was so beautiful and wonderful. Everything that he spoke was saturated with all Tattva Siddhanta, but also because our Gurudev had given us a foundation in rasa. I saw that Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj felt comfortable in the association of our Gurudev's disciples to also speak so many rasik subjects. And like our Gurudev would speak about Rupa Goswami and elaborate on the depth of his relationship with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj would also speak on that subject and just enhance it. He wouldn't remove it at all. He would just enhance it. He would help it to grow. It was so beautiful. And how he would speak about how Krishna himself became Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that he could not steal Radha's bhav, but he had to take shelter of her moods and beg from her. And by this, by receiving her mercy, he was able to receive the bhavs of Srimati Radhika and manifest as Sri Shachinandan Gaura Hari. Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj also was amazingly transcendentally magnetic. I just want to share this one bit. So it was, I think, near the end of Kartik. Most of the devotees everyone had gone to Govardhan as far as we were concerned, and we heard that Srila Bharati Maharaj would be coming to stay in Gopinath Bhavan. So we decided to come back and just have a little welcome party. Okay, there's going to be 10 people. He's not feeling well. He's coming to rest. A little welcome party, maybe 5, 10 people. So we were there doing kirtan at the gate of Gopinath Bhavan for Srila Bharati Maharaj. And he was late. He was coming from Gopinath Gaurimat, where Sripad Bodayan Maharaj is. He was coming to Gopinath Bhavan. So we were there in the hallway, the entranceway of Gopinath Bhavan, doing kirtan. 1 hour, an hour and a half, 2 hours. And then it was like 15 people, 20 people, 30 people. And then by the time he arrived, there was like 50 devotees waiting. And then because so many devotees were there, he went in, he refreshed, and he came out just to give a small darshan because he saw so many devotees were there. When he sat down, I don't know what happened. I didn't even know so many devotees were in Vrindavan. I didn't know who told who. Like so many, 250 devotees showed up out of the blue just for that 10 minutes that he was going to speak that day. And the next day more, and the next day more. Everyone was so greedy and eager to hear. And we saw something amazing. All of the big sannyasis within our Gurudev Sangha, all of the senior Vaishnavas, all of those whom Gurudev gave the most responsibility to, were all sitting at his feet like very humble, like children, and giving so much honor and respect. We saw how Pujapad Madhav Maharaj was also serving him. We saw all of these Vaishnavas sitting there. It was like, wow, this person is no ordinary person. He was a very strong, stalwart general in the army of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
He said he is my Shiksha Guru.
Even Bhakti Kamal Govinda Maharaj referred to him as his Shiksha Guru. So, we were so fortunate to have met such a person. Actually, we barely touched on even our own interactions, what to speak of his glories, which are unlimited. To endeavor to glorify a Vaishnava, this is purifying for the mind, for the heart, and beneficial. So I pray.
If they want to know more, can you tell them that website? Chaitanya Vishuddhamani.
So very interestingly, you got to hear this. This is really amazing. Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj, he has such a character of serving Vaishnavas that 2 of his disciples, they have made a beautiful website, VCD, Vishuddha Chaitanya Vani. And they are publishing his lectures, they are publishing the transcribed lectures and the audio lectures. So many beautiful kathas of Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj, and helping to publish books and engaging everyone. But his mood of Vaishnava Seva is so contagious that they are also heading up our Gurudev's audio Seva. They're doing that as well. They're engaging everyone and publishing Gurudev's Harikatha, bringing Gurudev's Harikatha to the world as well.
And bringing Gurudev's Sangha together.
And through that, bringing Gurudev's Sangha together, that people can hear what Gurudev spoke, what he said, in a very clear, and not only is it the audio seva, means just the sound, but also transcriptions. So Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Goswami Maharaj, he was a machine of seva, always serving, seva ratna, a jewel of seva. And I pray to him on this day that in the same way that he manifested to us after the departure of our Srila Gurudev, and how he was nourishing us, not taking anything, not wanting to take our hearts or anything, but he was giving milk, he was giving nourishment to these small babies whose father had departed from this world. He was giving nourishment. I pray to him that may he manifest another nourisher like himself, and that may he also inspire within us the moods of proper discrimination. He was an amazing reconciler. He was able to reconcile everything. That he may manifest within our hearts proper discrimination, and that may he manifest a mood within our hearts of service to the Vaishnavas, always serving. Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Didi Avirbhav Maha Mahotsava ki jai. Srila Gurudev ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Panaga Gauri Guru Varga ki jai. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bo.
And please continue to offer some prayers for Srila Bhakti Charu Maharaj.
Yes.
He's
So,
still in very critical.
Bhakti Charu Swami is still in a very, very, very critical condition at this time.
His heart and kidneys are being
His heart and kidneys are extremely weakened also, and his lungs are not really functioning on their own. He's functioning through a ventilator. So please pray for him and offer some of the benefit of your Ekadashi for him, and also your kirtan for his spiritual progression and benefit in whatever way he goes, whether he stays or whether he leaves. One thing our Gurudev taught us is that anya bhilashita shunyam, that we don't need to pray for Gurudev to remain here, but we should pray for what is favorable for Gurudev. So, for any Vaishnava, for any devotee, anyone who is serving, we can pray for them. And we also can pray for ourselves, that may what is favorable be the best outcome, what is favorable for serving Krishna. If this body is no longer suitable, may one's thirst, Krishna Krishna, to serve Krishna always increase. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Shri Gurudev ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Goswami Maharaj ki jai, Kaliya Virbhav Mahamahotsav ki jai, Shri Bani Gauri Guruvarga ki jai, Patit Pavan Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai, Prem Purushottam Shachinandana Gaur Hari ki jai, Radha Vinu Bihari Ji ki jai, Radha Madhu ki jai, Giriraj Maharaj ki jai, Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai, Madhakti Ekadashi ki jai, Gaur Bhaktivedanta ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Govinda Damodara Madhaveti, Govinda Damodara Madhaveti, Govinda Damodara Madhaveti, Govinda Damodara Madhaveti. Bolo Radhe Radhe Radhe, Jai 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 Shri Radhe. Radhe Radhe Radhe, Jai 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 Shri Radhe. Radhe Radhe Radhe, Jai 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 Shri Radhe. Shri Vrindavan Bihari Lal ki jai, Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe. Shyam Gaur Premanande,
Hari Hari Bol.
So thank you very much for being with us today and for giving us the opportunity to remember and glorify Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Goswami Maharaj and Ekadashi, for engaging us in our Guru Seva and for keeping us in the position of always being able to and having to remember the glories of their teachings. Hopefully we will see you tomorrow. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, Jai Shri Radhe Shyam. Jai.
Hare Bol.